All right, so we have simulated a linear search, looking through a list one by one until we find what we're looking for. What we want to do next is simulate binary search, which we wrote a function for, but I actually want to start from scratch, and I want to do this differently so that you sort of see two different approaches to the same problem. What you could do for this task is copy the function we made to search through this list, replace this list with the box that you find, and then show what you're doing by changing their colors. But I want to actually do something a little more similar to how we created this simulation of the linear search. So just a reminder, what a binary search should do is grab the middle item, check if it's what you're looking for. If it is, we're done. If not, figure out, should we go up or down to find what we're looking for? If what we're looking for is bigger, we'll grab the middle number of the bigger half, check that. See what we're looking for is smaller, so grab the middle number. Obviously, at some point, we're going to have to round, either up or down when there's not an exact middle. But I see we're still too big, and then I check the one in the middle and find what we're looking for. So I was able to find this number by checking 4 items instead of all this part of the list. So usually binary search is more efficient than looking through everything. So how could I code that? Well, I know a couple of things. I know that I'm going to have to repeat some set of logic in order to do this over and over until we find it. And I know that I'm going to need a strategy to find the middle bot, specifically find what number is on its label. Now, the way that we did this before is we created a function, and at the bottom of the function, if we didn't find what we were looking for, we started the function again. Another way to do something over and over, obviously a for loop we've done, you might have already, in another context, learned about a while loop. A while loop will check what's in the parentheses here, and if that is true, run the code you put after it. So if I put if 10 is less than 50, then this code will run. It'll check 10 is still less than 50, and this will run again. And we'll go over and over and over and over again, because this will always be true. If you want something to always happen, you can also just put true there. But usually, what you should do is find a way to break out of this when you're done doing what you need to do. So we could make a variable like let still looking equal true, or you could call this should still look, or you could call this looking. There are a million different ways you could name variables. It's whatever makes sense to you. Hopefully you can pick something that also makes sense to other people so that it's easy to look at your code and know what's going on. So while looking is true, then I want to check the middle bot. None of this is going to work anymore because we don't have anything called B anymore. But I know while we're looking, I should check the middle bot if we found what we're looking for, be done. If not, then we want to check, should we get the top half or should we get the bottom half, and try again. If our target number is bigger, go again with the top half, and conversely, if our target number is smaller, we want to go again with the bottom half. And I'm going to keep this sleep in here to make sure there's a little pause between every time this loop runs, so that we'll be able to see what's happening. So I've got in my comments here sort of the strategy that we want to try and accomplish. Now, if you can articulate exactly what you need to do here, then it should be pretty easy, even if you don't know how to type the exact code or the syntax for what you're trying to do. You can Google how to get the middle item of a list JavaScript. And I might have clicked some links around here before. You know, we all do it. The AI overview might give us, will usually give us the right answer. It might give us what we're exactly looking for if it understood our context. But Stack Overflow is a website where actual people write actual questions and actual people type out answers. Now, this looks like a pretty advanced way to get the middle item. I don't really want to do this because it's confusing to me and I want to make sure I understand what I'm typing into my code. So I'm going to talk you through how I would probably do this. So I would want to figure out what's the index of the middle bot. I'll call this middle index. And I know I could figure out the length of the list by taking the list and typing length. And I know that the middle should be half of that. So the length divided by 2. Now this is going to work if the length is even. Because if the length is like 7, we can't look for the 3.5th item. We either need to look for the 3rd item or the 4th item. So we need to round this down. The way that we round down is through an interface, not an interface, this big package thing called math. It's got some functions like floor finds the bottom of a decimal. And there's a similar one. Ceil means ceiling. Coders are lazy. We hate typing out whole words. But I imagine this as the decimal number is a story in a building. And if you were to try and place something on the 3.5th story, that means you're putting it in the middle of the 3rd story. So if you want it on the floor, that would be 3, the 3rd story on the building. If that's not helpful to you, please ignore that I just said that and try and find your own way to remember ceiling and floor. So once I know the middle index, I know that I can look through a list of bots by putting the square brackets and going 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever number I want to put in. So I'm going to put in this number that I just made. Now, this is pretty similar to what we saw here. They're rounding or finding the floor and doing length divided by 2. What they did is they grabbed this whole bit of logic here and just put it there. They skipped making the variable, which totally works if you are familiar enough with coding to be able to interpret what that means. I'm going to leave it like this because I think that's a little bit more clear what's going on. So we're finding the middle bot. I'm going to leave this at finding and then we'll check down here if we found what we're looking for. So if something, we want to say looking is false. Stop looking. No more looking. We're done. So how do we check that? I'm going to save this and say middle bot equals that bot. If the middle bot has a label tag that is equal to whatever number we're looking for, I'm actually going to grab this number and save it somewhere else. I'm going to put it right at the top so that I can change it easily. I'll call this target number equal 61. Maybe I'll be lazy, keep it simple. My target is 61. If the label is what we're looking for, stop looking. I also probably want to take this bot and somehow show that we found it. Say the color should be green. If we didn't find what we're looking for, I'm going to make the color red. Cool. Now what we need to do is, if our target is bigger, somehow make this happen again with the top half. If it's smaller, somehow make it happen again with the bottom half. Now this while loop is going to keep going. So if I can find a way to take our list and cut off the bottom half or cut off the top half, then we won't need to change anything. because the second time this goes around, list bots will be different. So I'm going to see if I can modify this variable so that it ends up to be the top half or so that it ends up to be the bottom half. Now, if you don't know how to do that, how to cut a list in half, JavaScript. Again, you can click these links to see how regular, real human people have done it. Half length is they did ceil, they rounded up instead of down. And left side is array.slice 0 and half length. So I'm gonna say, let's grab this. They found the left side. That would be the smaller ones. That would be the bottom half. So I'm gonna say if the target is less than what we found, this, then I'll make this variable for the left side. Now you notice we've been using let. They said var. You could also say const. If you're unsure, let will always let you change it. Const will always be constant. You won't be able to change it later. Var is kind of this middle ground where the computer treats it like a const until you try to change it, then it turns it into a let. We've been using let. I'm just going to keep it like that. So we'll let the left side equal our list of bots sliced in half. We don't have half length, but we have middle index, so I'm going to use that. And then to change what list bots is, I just want to set it equal to the left side. Cool. Now we just need to figure out how to get the top half. I'm guessing it's going to be similar, so I'm going to paste exactly what we did. Say instead of less than, greater than. If what we're looking for is bigger than what we found, how could we do this? This guy didn't show how to do that. This guy's giving a lot of context about mutations, but I see you can do a slice halfway through and the length of the list. So instead of this, I'm going to take list bots and slice them. I don't have anything called halfway through, but I have middle index, and your array.length, our array is the list bots. So here we're slicing from 0 to the middle, and here we're slicing from the middle to the end. Let's see if this works. We might run into an error if what we're looking for isn't in the list, because we never checked to see if we've looked through the whole list or not. So we've got a couple 61s, and we found one immediately. So that's a really terrible test. I'm going to take, whoops. All right, well, we went through the list and we didn't find it. That works. There's some 61s here. It looks like we're doing the binary search correctly. And I don't know if 61 not being in the list means there's an error and we've done something terribly wrong. I'm going to check really quick. There are no errors. So maybe it's noticing we can't do this and quietly failing to slice the list. But as far as the simulation goes, it's working. And so I will totally accept this. If you would like a little challenge, figure out how could I check if we're done looking at the list, and maybe do a little special message or something saying like, hey, it's not here. We could modify this code, we could clean it up, we could make it a little simpler, but we've accomplished our goal, so I think we should leave it at that for now.